7 News Source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Shop the closeout event now at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, save an extra $100 when you spend $999 or more on all major appliances. Valid 1/4/24 to 1/24/24. Selection varies by location while supplies last. See Lowe's.com for details.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Impressive win for the Clippers last night. They beat Phoenix by 27. All 5 starters scored in double figures. Paul George led the way with 25 points. Kawhi Leonard had 5 steals. Over the past 5 games, Kawhi has 15 steals and 7 block shots. The Clippers are straight up balling. They are 10 games over 500 and 15-3 since December 1st. The Lakers are back on the court tonight. They play Toronto at Crypto.com, 7:30 tip-off. The Lakers are trying to get back to 500. They're 1 game below. Michigan wins the college football national championship. They beat Washington last night by 21 to cap a 15-0 season. Let the chatter begin. Did Jim Harbaugh coach his final game in Michigan? The Chargers need a premier coach like Harbaugh to help turn around the franchise and restore the fan base. Stay tuned. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, pursuing justice through participatory democracy. Listen to KBLA Talk 1580 Saturday morning, January 13th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for an exclusive forum featuring the candidates for LA County District Attorney. Join KBLA's Tavis Smiley as he helps navigate what promises to be a forum full of fire when the candidates trying to unseat current LADA George Gascon come together on stage on the campus of the Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science. Again, it's the LA County District Attorney Forum, live, exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580, Saturday morning, January 13th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., helping to raise your civic IQ. We're KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
I dedicate this song to recession, depression, and unemployment. This song's for you.
Today's a new day, but there is no sunshine. Nothing but clouds, and it's dark in my heart, and it feels like a cold night. Today's a new day, but where are my blue skies? Where is the love and the joy that you promised me? Tell me it's alright.
I'll be honest with you.
I almost gave up, but a power that I can't explain fell from heaven like a shower now.
When I think how much better I'm gonna be when this is over. You do.
I'll smile.
Come on and
smile. It's so hard to look up when you've been down. Sure would hate to see you give up now.
God's people.
You look so much better when you smile. So smile.
I hate to step on Kirk Franklin, but the show must go on. This is talk radio after all. I could listen to that all day long. I love music like all the rest of you do, but this is a talk station, so let's get this party started in this hour. I'm pleased to have live in studio the Bishop Kenneth C. Ulmer from boardroom to pulpit. He has some wisdom to share from the trenches, I might add, of leadership transitions, offering practical tools for all kinds of CEOs and, for that matter, spiritual leaders, navigating succession challenges. This is still early in the year for us. And as you know, we always start this year off the first couple of weeks offering you as much motivation as we can to help you maximize the moment that is this year. And there are any number of people. I was just thinking the other day about a few friends of mine who've announced their retirement from some major organizations. As I get older, I see more of this, obviously, people I've known for years and worked with for years who are announcing retirements and moving on to different phases of their lives. And so that raises all kinds of business succession questions. And who better than Bishop Ulmer, who's navigated this quite successfully at his church here in L.A., Faithful Central, but so many other things that he has his hands involved in that he has learned from over the years about what it means to transition successfully. Let me just start with this. First of all, it's good to see you. Happy New Year, my friend.
Good to be here, man. Good to be. Happy New Year.
Good to see you. Good to see you in person. Thanks for coming in. Let me just start with this, and this won't surprise you knowing me as you do. But what is it about the black church? See, I'm starting already. What is it about the black church that makes us so horrible at secession? These black preachers, these black pastors will stay until they die in the pulpit. And we've seen this story so many times, and we're going to talk more than about just the black church. You are a CEO. It's a church, but it's an organization. It's a corporation. So we'll talk about CEO transition and other succession ideas that you can share with the audience for this year. We have a lot of entrepreneurs in this audience. A lot of folk who are leading authorities who may be stepping aside and trying to figure out how they're going to make their own transition. We'll talk about that. But we've seen this movie so many times before. Pastors stay on so long, they die in the pulpit, and there's no succession plan. The church ends up splitting 3 or 4 different ways. All that work that was done, and it just splits. Or pastors decide they're going to retire, and they pick someone who they want to put in, but the church ain't really feeling that person, and the church dies slowly on the vine. I just hate seeing it, and it just seems to me that the black church, and I don't want to indict the black church worse than anybody else, but I can't think of anything worse at the moment than the black church about why we're so bad at secession plans. If you agree with me, if you don't, tell me why.
Well, I agree with you painfully, and painfully because, like you, I've seen it. I've been around it. I've seen it in friends. I've seen it in relationships, and so I agree, and regretfully agree. I think there's so many elements in it. I have defended many of my friends weekly defended them because I think it's a model that has been passed down. That's what they saw. That was a model to them, which is it was the old cowboy thing. You die with your boots on.
Sure.
So I think part of it is the modeling, the generational modeling of staying forever. You don't transition out. You fade out. The old classic line, and nobody retired in the Bible and all that, and I'm going to heaven with the King and all that good stuff. So first of all, it's a bad model. Secondly, and this is maybe from a different psychological perspective, this whole thing of identity, in our culture, the identity of being that pastor of that church, regardless of the size of the church. I mean, whether it's a big cathedral or whether it's a storefront and the names are written on a cardboard with crayon, But that's identity. That I am the pastor. I wrote an article about mental health or something since I've retired, moved. I'll come back to that in a minute. And they said, so how should we identify you? So we don't want to say the former pastor. And I thought about that. I don't know who I am right now. But so there's an identity piece there. So there's a model and an example that has been negative, and then there's an identity in which you're wrapped up in that. The next thing is, what do you do? I had a professor. She changed my life. At first time I went to Oxford. She was a Dominican nun.
Hold that thought. I want to pick up on the Dominican nun part. When we come forward, I want to hear about this professor, and I do want to. Something occurs to me as you speak. I'm thinking about while we could poo-poo it. There is something to. I'm thinking about my Pentecostal church and the song we sang, I come over here to stay, Lord, until I die. You know the song, right? And to your point about down with the boots on, if God called you to preach and God called you to pastor, he doesn't uncall you. So maybe you should stay there until you die. Hold that thought, though. I got you.
Put a pin right there.
I put a pin right there. Our guest, Bishop Kenneth.
Look back at your boy.
He's warmed up already. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
When you use Bounce dryer sheets and your clothes look amazing, it's the sheet. Less static in your life? Yeah, it's the sheet. Smelling fresher than ever? It's the sheet. Oh, so soft fabric? Ooh la la. It's the sheet. Less wrinkles on your clothes? You know it's the sheet. Bounce dryer sheets. More freshness, more softness. Less static, less wrinkles. It's the sheet.
So, what are you doing this Friday morning? How about you come join the KBLA delegation as we make a historic announcement and unveil our climate justice campaign for 2024. We'll be assembled for this major press conference along with LA Mayor Karen Bass, Ben Jealous, Executive Director of the Sierra Club, and a host of other public and private leaders who are joining us on this journey to justice, climate justice. We can't think of a better way to kick off the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend, linking social justice and climate justice. So, come join us this Friday morning at 10:30 a.m. at the beautiful MLK Memorial Tree Grove at the top of Kenneth Hahn Park off La Cienega. Once again, that's this Friday morning, January 12th at 10:30 a.m. as we take on the task of elevating the climate conversation by amplifying the voices of those who are most impacted by the climate catastrophes we are all witnessing in real time. KBLA delegation, we hope to see you this Friday morning at KBLA Talk 1580. Climate is king. Climate is king. Climate is king. Climate is king. Climate is king.
On your period, sudden gushes happen without warning. But now you can say goodbye to stand-up gush fears thanks to Always Ultra Thins with rapid dry technology. It absorbs gushes 2 times faster than the leading store brand and gives you up to 100% leak-free protection. Hello, clean and comfortable with Always Fear No Gush.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
More of Bishop Kenneth C. Omer, now retired. That's weird to say. And I was there. Retired.
So the new buzzword.
What's the new buzzword? Give it to me.
You don't retire, you reposition.
Okay, got it.
Reposition. I'm still working on that too.
The repositioning been at Bishop Kenneth C. Omer of the Faithful Central Bible Church in Los Angeles, Southern California. Amazing mega church. Everybody knows about it. Heard about it across the country. And he sort of stepped aside from the everyday pastorate of that church. But he has some amazing lessons he's learned over the years. As I say, from the trenches of leadership transitions. And that's what we're talking about in this hour. How we successfully transition from one leadership role to another in our own personal lives and in terms of organizations. But you were saying
why it's so hard.
One of your, why it's so
why
hard.
It's so
exactly.
hard. So
the nun, though, you left with the nun.
She's a Dominican nun.
Yes.
Oxford University, and she said, "Remember that she's a nun. That's going to make sense in a minute."
Right.
She said, "We order our lives around the rhythm of our relationship with God." And that's going to hit you this afternoon, about 3 o'clock. So we order our lives. We have a rhythm with God, and the rest of our lives are ordered around that. She said, she's a nun, so she said, we get up at a certain time, we eat 3 times a day, we pray 5 times a day, and everything else fits in there. She said, when this class is over, I have to get back because I have so-and-so. Our lives are ordered around a rhythm. She said, well, for example, if someone wants to find Tavis, okay, you have a rhythm. They want to find you at 9 o'clock.
They know where I am 3 hours.
They know where to find you. Okay? That's your rhythm. See what I'm saying? It's a rhythm.
Yeah.
And so, someone asked me about a month or so ago. How's it going? And he was a musician. So I said, as a musician, you'll get this. I said, my rhythm is off. My rhythm is off. You know, what do you do on Saturday night? You know, you might be somewhere Sunday, you might not be somewhere Sunday. So your rhythm is off. So the guys who hold on are stuck in a rhythm. Stuck in a rhythm, man. That rhythm is tied to their identity. That rhythm is tied to a holy call. You know, I'm on the battlefield for my Lord. I promise him that I will serve him till I die. I'm gonna die in this thing. You know.
Yeah.
And so changing the rhythms is interesting. I just turned 76 a few weeks ago. So I'm 76. I did this for 45 years. That's more than half my life. So I've been on rhythm. A friend of mine in Chicago, James Meeks, a very dear friend of mine.
I know James Meeks
well. So Meeks, so Meeks retired about a month after me.
I saw that.
I could show you the. I show you the text. Meeks called me like the week before Christmas. He said, you call me. You're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. Meek said, so what you doing Christmas, man? What you gonna do Christmas? He said,
let's preach each other a Christmas sermon.
you ain't got no. Where you gonna preach Christmas?
Where you gonna preach Christmas? Exactly.
You preach one of me, I'll preach one of you. But it's the rhythm. It's the rhythm. Think about that. First Christmas in 40-some years.
Right.
Where are you gonna preach, man?
Yeah.
So it's those kinds of things that add to this challenge of transition. You know, I don't want to go there. And guys and women, we hold on to it because of our identity, because of the bad model, because of a rhythm of our lives, man. And the challenge is, and actually the sad part is, whatever we're holding on to dies. Yeah. It'll be different if what we're holding on is going to give us life.
So how do I process then that we should never confuse what we do with who we are? So your lane is in theology and in the church. My lane is in this industry. And I'm grateful to God, you know, for everything that's happened to me in my career, the good, the bad, and the ugly. My mom reminds me all the time. She's listening right now. One of her favorite scriptures: "In everything,
give thanks.
Give thanks, and everything." She said, "What it is, baby." She said, "Whatever it is, baby, in everything, give thanks." For this is the will of God. You know that you preach this stuff all the time. Yeah. But I raise that only because I'm grateful. I'm learning to be grateful for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And what I'm driving toward is there have been moments in my life and in my career where everything stopped. There are 2 or 3 or 4 times in my career I got fired. This didn't happen. Worked out for a while and then it didn't. And in those moments, I always prayed the same prayer. I prayed that I would discover that it was what I did and not who I was. I know too many people, certainly in Hollywood where you and I sit, if they ain't on the screen, if they ain't got a TV show, if they ain't got a movie, they don't know who they are.
We have friends, you and I both have friends who are struggling with that right now.
Yeah.
Struggling with that right now.
It's that identity thing you were talking about.
It's that identity thing. Yeah. And I think you hit it though, that I do what I do, but I am what I am whether I do what I do or not. I'm still God's child. God still loves me. What my struggle in those times of this just happened. What my struggle is, okay, what's next? What's next? There's got to be something more than this. Something, because you still love me, because I'm still your son, I'm still your child, because you still have your hand on me. And so my challenge is to be on the lookout for what's next. That's what's happening with me right now. You know, you probably you know the name Kane Hope Felder.
Oh, very well. Interviewed him any number of times.
If you don't,
Howard University.
If you don't have the book Troubling Biblical Waters,
it's on my shelf.
It's a classic. Former dean of Howard University told me something never changed my life. Man, changed my life. He says this: most of us look at what we have to do today. What's my schedule today? Right. A few of us say, what do I do tomorrow? Kane said, very few of us look at what do I do the day after tomorrow. You know, those of us who are stuck in the now have not considered the not yet. We're stuck in today. Kane says, we have not looked at the day after tomorrow. What are you going to do then? What are you going to do then? When your Dr. A.V. Hill ran for president at National Baptist Convention, and he lost, and this young punk preacher young punk kid comes up and he says, well, Dr. Hill, what you gonna do now, Doc? What you gonna do now? I'll never forget this. I'm carrying Dr. Hill's briefcase. Hilton Hotel.
Yeah.
He stops, he says, well, I have options. And he walked away.
Mm-hmm.
And he stopped and looked at me straight in my eye at the Hilton Hotel and he said, son, always have options.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us who hold on until we die and they die, we don't have any options, man.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any alternatives. We have nothing for day after tomorrow.
Let me challenge that thesis.
Yeah.
So here's my challenge. If what we're looking for in life, what we're searching for, is not a job,
mm-hmm.
what we're looking for ultimately, I believe, is our calling,
mm-hmm.
our vocation, our avocation. They're not the same thing.
Right.
Now, as a young person, you may have a couple jobs on your way to finding your vocation. Right. You working at McDonald's, whatever you're doing. Anybody mad at you for that? You know,
mm-hmm.
delivering newspapers. We've all done stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Cutting grass, whatever it may be. Being a candy striper at a hospital. Yeah. I get that. But you're on your way, hopefully, to finding your vocation, your calling in the world. Mm-hmm. Once you discover what God uniquely put you here to do, mm-hmm. it must be difficult after doing that 45 years to then figure out what's next, because that's what God called you to do. Is there a new calling? No, is there a new vocation?
You're close to it. You're close to it.
Okay.
Because for 45 years, I've done it this way.
Mm-hmm.
For this next season, I may do it a different way.
I got it.
I'm still going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I did, remember Promise Keepers?
I did Promise Keepers 10 years. So mm-hmm.
Dr. Hill got me into that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go around the country. I spoke LA Coliseum,
mm-hmm.
80,000 men. Rose Bowl, 100 and some thousand. Super Bowl, Orange Bowl, 108,000 men.
Mm-hmm.
And if God gave me a choice, which doesn't have to, but if God gave me a choice between 100,000 men in a stadium and 10 women or 10 men in a group or in a classroom, I take the classroom every time.
Mm-hmm.
Because my call is to teach. I can teach. I've taught there. I've taught in that arena. I've taught in literally that arena. But that call has not changed.
Mm-hmm.
I do it in a different context, in a different way. The Bible says the gifts and calls of the Lord are without repentance. God doesn't give it and take it. He doesn't take it back.
That's right.
But he can move you to it. You know, Moses spent his last few years mentoring. We call it mentoring a Joshua. He didn't stop. And yet Moses saw early on that he would only go so far. He would only go so far, man. I think one of the challenges that we have right now is that I never allowed people in our church to call us a mega church. A mega church. I know some megas. I got a mega for you. I got some mega for you.
I got a mega for you.
Yeah, we're big, praise the Lord. But I'm just saying there are always others who are there. But what do you do with this one? What do you do on this corner? What do you do this Sunday? What do you do with this group? You know, as opposed to continually saying, you know, this is all I have to do, but it may not be there.
I want to ask you, I got another question about identity I want to ask, but I'm following you as I always do. Since you went there, that word mega, what is your response? You wouldn't let them call Faithful Central Bible Church a mega church, but what is your response to the indictment writ large of the black mega church? I ain't got to cover that much more for you.
No. Yeah. I think we and this is any color. I think we got swallowed into that identity that is more horizontal in the eyes of others than it was vertical in the eyes of God. In other words, I think that it was always comparing ourselves to someone else. If I'm a mega, who's more mega than I am? How many numbers? I remember there was a trend of guys building buildings. Everybody wanted to outbuild Crenshaw Christian Center. I know a guy, Crenshaw Christian Center said 10,002, whatever it is. He had to build 10,003. You know, I'm more mega than he is. You know, but even that kind of thing, man, was seasonal. Was seasonal, and God is still doing, still moving, and what is now, you know, I had a class 20-some years ago on the largest churches in the country, in the world. You don't hear about them anymore. You know, 20 years ago, the largest churches in this city, You don't hear about them anymore. You don't hear about them anymore. There's a seasonal dynamic of what God does. The question is, how do I move from one season to the other and remain faithful?
I was with our friend Cornell West the other night having dinner, and this came up, and I told him you would come on the show. And he went into his thing, of course. He said, I know you got a mega church, but where's your mega love? Where's your mega prison ministry?
See, those are the questions.
Those are the questions. Where's your mega ministry?
There you go.
And he would always he has a way of indicting. It's kind of funny when you hear him talk about it. He has a way of indicting these churches that decide they want to become mega, and they always end up abandoning the inner city for as he would call it, the chocolate spaces.
Yeah.
For the vanilla suburbs.
Yeah.
So you build this mega thing, but it's so far out that Negroes can't even get to you.
Yeah.
Especially with the price of gas these days.
Oh man, yeah.
So it's I ain't mad at you for building wherever you can get a good deal, but you end up abandoning the spaces oftentimes where we live and work.
And I think that comes back to, but what is my calling?
Right.
What is my calling? And how do I build continuity with that calling? If God has called me here, and planted me here. He planted me here because there's someone here, there's some place here that needs what he's going to do through me. People always wondered how me and Bishop Blake and Bishop Jones, how we're such good friends. Because there are people that will go to West Angeles who will never come to Faithful Central. There are people that will go to City of Refuge, never come to, the cathedral,
right?
Sure. Because there are people that God has assigned us to, and I think Cornell is onto something. At what point are we abandoning them for what looks like greener pastures? That green grass is really AstroTurf. But he raises a very valid question, man.
But it also occurs to me as you're talking and watching my clock here. We got 2 minutes, and we'll continue when we come forward. It also raises a thought for me. This may be sacrilegious to say. I don't know. It may just be wrong to say. Period. But not unlike talk show hosts, preachers are acquired taste. Everybody does it differently. So you go to this church or that church because you like the way this word tastes.
Cultic like.
Yeah.
In a positive sense. I mean, dude, I look around, and what I've had a chance to do in the last year or so is to visit huge churches, thousands and thousands. I was just at a church a couple of days ago with maybe 100 people.
Yeah.
Vibrant, exciting, spirit-filled. It's like, and these people would never go down the street to the guy who's at thousands about 2 blocks from there, about 2 miles from there. Because I think that God, the Bible, there's a point where God says, go to that place because there are people already there waiting for you. There are people there waiting for you. And so I think Cornell has a point when he says, God sent you there. Now you're going to leave there and just go someplace else? How are you going to abandon where you say God? That's another thing. Where you say God told you to go. Cornell raises the valid questions, man.
Yeah. When we come forward, I want to come back to this notion of identity, because every one of us struggles with that. And it seems to me that wrestling with identity is even more challenging for folk with melanin in their skin, for a whole lot of reasons.
Yeah.
So when we come forward, I want to talk about this identity piece a bit more, and then want to get some of your advice for those this year who may be in a transition in your life, in your leadership, trying to figure out what's next for you. When you listen to a guy who's done something for 45 years and he tells you he's trying to figure out what his next move is, what's it like in that space, and how do you navigate through that space? And there are many of you who are going to be making some moves this year, and so I'm delighted to have Bishop Kenneth C. Ulmer here to help you figure out what he's trying to figure out in real time. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful they saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A federal appeals court is considering whether Donald Trump is immune from prosecution on charges he illegally tried to overturn the 2020 election. The former president voluntarily appeared in a D.C. courtroom today. Trump's lawyers argued his efforts in 2020 were within his official presidential duties and are therefore protected by presidential immunity. We're learning Tiger Woods is leaving Nike after a nearly 30-year partnership. In a social media post, the golf star thanked Nike founder Phil Knight for his passion and vision. Woods signed with Nike at the age of 20 when he turned professional. Nike acknowledged Tiger's contribution to golf in a social media post, saying he challenged his competition and stereotypes. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Shop the closeout event now at Lowe's. Get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, save an extra $100 when you spend $999 or more on all major appliances. Valid 1/4/24 to 1/24/24. Selection varies by location while supplies last. See Lowe's.com for details.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Impressive win for the Clippers last night. They beat Phoenix by 27. All 5 starters scored in double figures. Paul George led the way with 25 points. Kawhi Leonard had 5 steals. Over the past 5 games, Kawhi has 15 steals and 7 block shots. The Clippers are straight up balling. They are 10 games over 500 and 15-3 since December 1st. The Lakers are back on the court tonight. They play Toronto at Crypto.com, 7:30 tip-off. The Lakers are trying to get back to 500. They're 1 game below. Michigan wins the college football national championship. They beat Washington last night by 21 to cap a 15-0 season. Let the chatter begin. Did Jim Harbaugh coach his final game in Michigan? The Chargers need a premier coach like Harbaugh to help turn around the franchise and restore the fan base. Stay tuned. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Anjali.
Hi, it's Jennifer Coolidge. I just got an alert for a strange charge on my card.
No problem. We make sure you're never held responsible for unauthorized purchases on your Discover card. Let's see. Did you purchase something from a t-shirt cannon store yesterday?
Absolutely not. No, I already have like 3.
$0 fraud liability guarantee. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard. Limitations apply.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more Straight Talk. Let's take a moment to appreciate our sweet children, loving grandparents, and eternal soulmates. Now let's use them to save money on wireless. Because with the Straight Talk Silver Plan, you get 4 lines for just $25 a month with unlimited data and no contracts. So add those human pawns, loved ones, and save money. Thanks, kids. They're finally worth it. Straight Talk Wireless, available at Walmart.
Get 4 lines on Silver Unlimited for $25 per line per month, plus taxes and fees. For data management practices and additional terms, visit straighttalk.com.
Don't settle for bumps, ingrowns, and itch due to dry skin. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is here with the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area. featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and skincare regimen that is dermatologist and gynecologist tested. Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about our full regimen of products.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right?
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers. If you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water, pay for clean. If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Every business seeks an advantage, whether it's having the best location, hiring top talent, or spotting trends before they happen. And now, the United States Postal Service can give your business a new advantage. Introducing USPS Ground Advantage. Reliable and affordable 2 to 5 day package shipping. It's the advantage you need at the price you want. Get the Ground Advantage at USPS.com/advantage. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
It does indeed. Our guest is Bishop Kenneth C. Ulmer of the Faithful Central Baptist Church here in Bible Church, here in Southern California, and we're talking about transitions. He's going through one right now, having done this for 45 years and figuring it out, and just offering some great advice, some sage advice about that and other stuff for that matter. You get a guy this wise in your studio, all kinds of good information starts to flow. No surprise there. But I wanted to come to this notion again, watching my clock here, a few things I want to cover here before I lose you. Mm-hmm. This notion of identity. And this is beyond, space and time. But black people, it seems to me, have always had a difficult challenge with identity. One could start with all the names that we have called ourselves, say nothing of the names we have been called. but this transition from color to Negro to black to Afro-American, African-American. I mean, so much of that is just trying to own an identity. I don't need to color the question much more for you, but what say you specifically about black people and this notion of identity?
I think it is the disconnect between who the culture has often said we are,
right?
Described us, identified us.
I left out Negro, by the way.
And who we knew we were.
Right.
In other words, we knew that we had to be and that we were more than that, better than that, greater than that, and yet to be bombarded with a culture that sought to box you and define you into their concept of you. And I think that's a part of who we are. It is to demand to be who we are, not who you say we are.
Yeah.
That's been part of our journey.
Yeah. Somebody said it ain't what you called me, it's what I answered to.
Right. There you go.
Not the same thing.
And that's been our struggle.
Yeah.
I think it has made many of us stronger.
Yeah.
I think it has made many of us more determined to. I did a conference somewhere, and the conference was "I Am a Man," and that was a nice little theme then, but that was deeper than you. Go back and look at some of the movies and stuff, and the slogans of the civil rights movement.
Sure,
the 60s, man.
Sure.
I shouldn't have to tell you, but if I do, I'm
a man.
I'm gonna tell you I am a man.
Yeah.
So I think it is the affirmation of that identity that comes from within and not from without.
Yeah. Now, the flip side of that is what your advice is to people who can't yet make the distinction between what they do and who they are.
It's a bad situation. You're in a proverbial rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
You live in a perpetual tension until you settle that.
Yeah.
And it can go from deep psychological stuff to acting out and working out and living out stuff that is often fantasy. But I think it is the issue of who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I? And that's why I think my faith comes in.
Yeah.
Because my identity begins with who God says I am.
Yeah.
In spite of who you say I am.
Right.
And who they say I am.
That's right.
I have to keep reminding myself that I am who he says I am.
Yeah. Who do men say?
Yeah. What is that about me out there? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I have to keep coming back to that.
Yeah.
And if it's tied into that building, if it's tied into that label, if it's tied into that position, tied into that pulpit, I'll stay there until I die. If I don't recognize that my calling and my identity is bigger than that.
Yeah. Speaking of that building, this has been the case for quite some time, but it's especially and particularly true these days. And I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest with you. But churches are no longer just places of worship; they are businesses. How should I feel about this?
I hope they are.
Yeah.
I hope they are, because I think that there's a multidimensional nature to ministry. If it is only what I used to always say to people that in our church, if the only time you open this book is when we come in here on Sunday morning and I say turn to the book of Acts, you'll never know that book. You'll never live by that book. So I think that we so many things that are pulling us from that, and we have to resist it if we're going to remain true to who we are and what we're really called to do, and that is. You're never more like God than when you love and when you give. God so loved that he gave. What am I giving? What am I releasing? How am I serving? How my community, those around me, this community, this neighborhood, whatever. Something broke my heart, man. Broke my heart. After 40-some years at Faithful Central, City of Inglewood had its annual Martin Luther King this time of year.
We're coming up on it again.
And they had an oratorical contest, and a little Latino girl won, and a little black guy, little boy, black boy was maybe 10 years old. Right. Latino girl was maybe 11 or 12. Broke my heart. And I spoke to the mother, and I said, "Oh, congratulations, mother of the Latino girl. Congratulations." I said, where do you live?" She said, "So I live 2 blocks down in an apartment complex on Eucalyptus." She said, "I didn't know this was a church." 3 blocks from our so-called mega. That lady said, "I didn't know this was a church." The father of the little boy said, they live so many blocks. He said, "We walked over here." He said, "I walk past it all the time. I've never been in here." Go back to what Cornell was saying. How are we in that community? How are we serving that community? Here's someone who is just a few blocks from our so-called mega. We're getting flags and waved at us and accolades, and so we're a mega. And here's somebody 3 blocks from our church who didn't even know where we were, man. That broke my heart. That broke my heart. Somebody who could walk to church who walked right past. That broke my heart. We're not doing something, man. We're not doing something. And it's like Cornell said, where is our, how far does this mega meet the masses, serve the masses, serve the people around who may never even come into this building? I'm impressed by it. Jesus led a guy named Matthew, tax collector, and the first thing Matthew did, Jesus said, "Come follow me." Matthew says, "You come follow me." Matthew took Jesus to a party. The Bible said full of sinners. The Bible said house full of sinners. Jesus goes into the house. The holy folks say, "Well, what's he going up in there for? All them hellions and everything." Jesus goes in and comes out. There's never a record that anybody in that house got saved. See, my evangelical friends say, "Well, you're going there to witness in the name of Jesus, and they're going to get saved and filled with the Holy Ghost." There's no one in that building got saved. The value of Jesus being in that building was he was in the building. He was there, and he was being himself. God calls us to be us where we are. That community, that neighborhood. That lady said, "Sir, I didn't know this was a church." That broke my heart. I've been there 40-some years, man. That broke my heart. Cornell raises a good question.
If you don't know who Bishop Kenneth C. Ulmer is, most of you do. If you don't, you've heard of him, and you've heard of his church, because this is the church that bought the Forum many years ago. This is the church that made all kinds of national and international news when they bought the Forum. Back in the day, the Great Western Forum, now the Kia Forum.
Yeah.
But this is the church that bought the Forum. And I want to, as we're talking about leadership and transitions and succession plans and moving in the right ways in the right times, I want to, just, when we come forward, ask Bishop Ulmer a few lessons, a few takeaways from that deal when this mega church, in air quotes, got more mega by buying the Forum and just blew everybody's mind. But he's the guy that did that deal. We'll talk about that, his lessons from that. And you mentioned, about Jesus going into that house. I also want to ask when we come forward about the value in our lives this year of starting with the notion of just showing up. Wow. What does it mean to just commit yourself this year to show up? Who knows what happens when you walk in the house? Yeah. But can you just commit yourself to show up? As I say to black people, there are two things. If you do these two things, you're ahead of the crowd. One, Negro, just show up. And number two, if you show up on time, Lord Jesus, we owe to something. If you show up and you on time.
You just broke a record.
You just broke a record.
Kind of brother show up on time.
I guess it's Bishop Kenneth C. Ulmer. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the exclusive media sponsor of this light of ours, activist photographers of the Civil Rights Movement. A dynamic new exhibition on view now at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. This light of ours showcases more than 150 photos taken by movement insiders from diverse backgrounds that reveal the vital work undertaken by a broad coalition of organizers and everyday people whose collective action changed America. This light of ours is one of 3 temporary exhibitions currently on view at the Skirball, which together explore issues related to civil rights, immigration, and pluralism. Tickets and more information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look, and unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at the gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event or join a cleanup event near you. 0 litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Bishop Ulmer just said to me, he said, Tavis, I wanted to finish well and be well when I finished. I wanted to finish well and be well when I finish. And that's what it means to successfully transition in the way that he has. And you should consider transitioning well this year. But I like that. Let me ask you, I'm watching my clock. Let me ask you right quick. What are some of the takeaways from that deal, that mega deal that y'all did when y'all bought the farm?
You know, the backstory of that, I'll probably tell it. It's been told a couple of times, but there would be. Here's the big statement: there would be no SoFi Stadium if Faithful Central Church had not bought the Forum.
Mm-hmm.
Let me connect those dots.
Mm-hmm.
The Forum was going to be torn down. It was sold. The contracts were signed, and the Forum building was going to be torn down. Lakers had moved down to the Staples Center.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to be torn down. The guy who was the developer was going to tear it down, turn it into like a residential area, get rezoned and everything, and they would never have a SoFi Stadium next to a residential area like that. We bought that building because of what the demise of the Forum would have done to the city of Inglewood. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even a totally spiritual thing about it. It was the big five. Well, 5 companies run the city of Inglewood. That's another conversation. Mm-hmm. And the Forum was going to be gone. We bought that building because of this community. Mm-hmm. Kind of what Cornell was saying.
Sure.
We bought that building because of this community. If that building had come down, there would be no SoFi.
Yeah.
We bought that building to run it as an entertainment venue. We never bought it to turn into a church. Mm-hmm. Never put a cross in there, never put a pew in there. Contrary to what my friend Joel Osteen did when they bought the Compaq Center in Houston, they turned it into a church. Mm-hmm. We bought the Forum to run it as an entertainment venue, and they said we'd never do it. Preachers laughed at us. The banking community laughed at us. The business community laughed at us. One of the vice presidents of a bank said, "You can't do that. Mm-hmm. Churches don't do that. Churches don't do that." Go back to another thing. Go back to identity. You never let the world tell you what you can and cannot do when God says you can. Mm-hmm. You never let the world tell you who you are when God says this is who you are. Mm-hmm. And that man said, you cannot do it. And he said, I'm not going to put any money in it, and they wouldn't back us. Mm-hmm. But we bought that building because of what it is to this community. And from the Forum was a good deal. It wasn't a great deal. It was a good deal. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a great deal. It would have been a great deal if we had done it the way some of our white friends had done it. Mm-hmm. We were spitting in the dark, man. Mm-hmm. The business involved in that, and you mentioned the thing, ministry is business, and there's a business element to ministry. Mm-hmm. Many of my friends have struggled because they didn't make that connection. It is a business. Mm-hmm. It is a ministry, but it's also a business. Yeah. I did a class one time at Howard, the business of ministry and the ministry of business. Mm-hmm. It's not either or. And so the whole idea of buying the Forum put us on a whole nother level, put us from a business perspective. And we struggle with it. But when they said you cannot do it, one of my greatest moments in the Forum was when Prince, we were getting ready to sell it, sold it to Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. And Prince did 20-some nights in that concert.
I was there.
And I stood, and the tears came out of my eyes for that building for the first time, because I saw what it did to the community. Yeah. Prince lowered the price of the tickets. Matter of fact, he fired his PR agent because he was going to lower the price of the ticket. He wanted to serve the community. That was the spirit of that building.
That's my guy. I miss him every day. Yeah. Our remaining moments with Bishop Kenneth C. Omer when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
I've got about 3 minutes left with Bishop Kenneth C. Ulmer. I could do this for hours if I had the time, but let me close with this right quick in these 3 minutes. We talked earlier about the value this year. Whatever transition you're facing, there are all kinds of practical tools that you've offered in this hour for how we can do better this year, which I appreciate. But talk to me about the value, first of all, of just committing yourself to show up.
I think it's easier to wait, to sit, to be still. I think the challenge is to move with a destiny and determination to be there. You may not have all the answers. You know, when we talked about the forum, we didn't have all the answers. I mean, we were making that thing up as we went along. But I think it's the value of showing up and speaking up. That's, you know, not to flip this thing, but that's what KBLA is doing. Jesus showed up. John spoke up. I'm just a voice. You know, show up, speak up. May not have all the answers, may not have it all together, but God is calling somebody right now. Somebody listen right now, and you got an idea for a business or whatever. Hey, don't back off of that thing, man. You know, my sister, go for it. Go for it. Step into that thing. The worst you could do is fall and get back up. But you can't fall and get back up if you don't show up. You got to be there. You know, this someone listen to this call right now, and that's God's word for you for this new year. You got to show up. You may have to cry. You may have been hurt, disappointed last year, or whatever. But this is your year to step up, show up, and speak up.
And we'll leave it there. Let me just say this. Bishop Ulmer mentioned KBLA, and I have not done this publicly ever on this station. And of course, we're heard across the country. My show is thankfully nationally syndicated now, so you're being heard in other cities across the country. But for those who are listening to us in LA, my home city and my home station, KBLA Talk 1580, let me just say this, and I'll leave it here. There is no KBLA if there is no Kenneth C. Ulmer. I did not do this by myself. I went to friends of mine, including raising investment dollars, to make this black-owned talk radio station history in L.A., the first of its kind, the only one west of the Mississippi. And I'll just leave it at that and tell you that when it came to my friends who came with me to invest in this, Kenneth Ulmer's on that list. I'll leave it there. I am forever indebted to you. And now the listeners of this station know how I made this happen in part. So I thank you, sir. And I love you.
Keep showing up. Keep speaking up, man.
Love you, man. You, as you say to me all the time, stay on the wall.
Stay on the wall.
More of Tavis Smiley. As a matter of fact, let me tell you right quick. You recall last summer when all these sisters started disappearing in these big, important DE&I jobs in Hollywood? Wow. At one point, there were like 6 major black women who all just resigned. It was a horrible moment, an ugly story. What's happened to all these sisters running Hollywood? One of those women is Janelle English, and she's about to sit in the seat right now that Bishop Ulmer is about to vacate in a moment. So Janelle English comes up in a moment on Tavis Smiley. Stay with us.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A federal appeals court is considering whether